where do we start today's job? As you've probably seen in the last video, not touched this for a long time, have we? So, let me see me. Hello, blue glove hand again. Tools, impact, socket remover, driver, whatever you want to call it. Got some bloody big nuts and bolts on this, but yeah, all I need to do is go around a bit squeeze for space today. Jack's under, wheels got to come off. If we go to the garage, oh, another job in bits. Another job in bits. Long-term job in bits. So we've got drive shaft to replace on the Trooper. These are some I've had in spares for a long time, so what we're going to do before we start changing it is take the boot off, just make sure there's enough grease in here. Obviously this one, I don't know if many of you guys know that, I don't know if you're familiar with such as most other vehicles that I've seen that run drive shafts on independent suspension, but normally you get a full shaft, so you'll have like a cup which is on the end of here, and it's obviously 3/4 bolts, how many it is, which means you can just remove the full unit. Trooper's slightly different, just to make it, I don't know, awkward easier, depends which way you look at it, is that the inner cup is actually locked into the diff. So the inner cup you don't replace unless that's broken, because it's on some quite large mounting brackets which aren't that easy to replace, but generally the inner cups are fine. You know, it's normally when you break a shaft, it's either, or I've found, is you break the spline end, which happened last time, which it broke just to the bloody end in locking up, which I've never ever seen, or it'll be the CV actual joint inside. So as long as your cup's fine on the inner, which we'll double check anyway, but you know, as you can see, we've got them taped up. Just remove the covering and the blue gloves, and it slots into the cup, which is, again, I think it's a little bit easier than having to piss around and taking bolts off. But yeah, what I'll do is take the boot off first, check there's enough grease in there. I've got a couple of different types of grease to put in, and then we'll crack on and get it fitted, even get this Trooper back on the road. But yeah, that's replacement shaft. Again, I've tend to go with used shafts purely because I've found the standard Suzuki, I don't believe Suzuki say the Trooper, or should I say any standard manufacturer's parts, tend to be a lot better than the aftermarket ones. So as long as your joints are okay in these, I'd always go used. Some people are probably going to argue different, but yeah, let's crack this open. Now I am tipping the fact that this has got a zip tie on, that somebody's had this off at some point, so I'm either hoping that they've refilled the grease in it, or they've they've not just left it with shitty stuff in it. It weren't just the clip has come off. But yeah, let's have a look. Could be a bit more grease in there, but yeah, so I'll refill the grease in there and then put it back together. Grease I'm going to be using in the actual boot is, I'm going to get this top off with one hand. Lovely shit. Just axle grease. If anyone needs to know, that's it. Just standard molly grease. Perfectly fine for in there. And then what I do use on the sort of spline end is something a little bit more tacky. So it's obviously red tacky grease, would you believe it? Right, so that's on as always. Prepared as ever. Run out of bloody proper sort of CV boot clips, as you'd see in like that one. So instead of using tie wraps, I've used a big circlip, or whatever you want to call them, I don't know what to call them. And I just need to check, make sure that doesn't bloody foul anything. But I will swap that out later on anyway. I just haven't got any size. These are kind of big CVs. Give the spline end a quick clean, debatable, just to get some of the shit off, especially there where it rubs, where it sits into sort of like the mud seal. Same with on that side. But yeah, I'll give that a bit more of a clean and stick that in. But obviously it's gonna get mudded up since it's going to be sat under water quite a lot, maybe, who sees. But yeah, so that's done. We didn't have to put much grease in there, but there's, you know, the more the better, I thought. So yeah, let's start the hard part and get this bugger fitted. 4BM. Getting close though, getting close. If you guys haven't watched any other videos, I know this is a Trooper video, but you know, fitting that bad boy in. But yeah, she will be finished one day. Let's not discuss what those are about. It's for a later date. Yeah, right. Let's crack on. So before we start fitting this, let me show you what's going on in the back. So I have to be quiet because you might hear me, but I can't see. But let's go have a look anyway. So I've left the back door open. You can quite see him in there. Hang on. What are you doing in there? Bob? Oh. Wagging his tail, thinks he's going off-roading. Like a little storeroom in back of their home, and yeah, I don't know what you guys keep in back of your Troopers, but I keep a Bob. Right, he's making his bed, so I'll leave him to that anyway. Bob? Ladies. Nope. Stupid dog. Anyway, let's crack on. Put two just in case. This is one of him other. Right, wheels off, and let's see the problem. On this side, so there's the shaft, and right away you can see it's sticking out there, and so we can, yeah, so it's, you can see all the movement there. So don't know until we take it off if that's broke on the inner coach feels tight, or why it's moving so much on that end. Last time I broke a shaft, it was, let's see, the spline end had broke. So yeah, I'd be interested to see if that's the same problem. But yeah, you can see how far it's sticking out there. Right, so we can get it off. What I'm going to do, because obviously you've got to take the freewheeling hub off, but let's see how they're pretty stiff. So once I take them off, I'm going to take them apart, clean them, because guarantee there's probably loads of mud and shit inside there. But yeah, let's get those off first. Right, so caps off. They weren't focusing. They weren't full of shit, which is good. But they were focusing on there. You can quite see it. Wiggle it. You can see the shaft, or the end of the spline, the end of the drive shaft. Broke off again, so this is the second one, which, come on, focus. I have no idea why this is happening. So what's broke off is just this little bit here, and this is exactly the same side that broke last time, and it was the end that broke off that one too. So I think I've gone a few forums and see if we can find out why that would be happening, because that is pretty unusual. To say it's second shaft, both same side, both genuine Isuzu shafts. It's not like the cheap Chinese copy ones. But yeah, let's get this out and I'll show you what I mean. So first step of getting all this apart is, or how I do it anyway, is take steering arms off, which definitely was noticed. They're not original, they're Land Rover bits, believe it or not. So they're actually a Land Rover adjustable arm, heavy duty arm that's been modified to fit the Trooper, because the Trooper ones just aren't up to standards a little bit. I don't think they do bend, so their Land Rover job is. So what we'll do is get that off. We can undo the top mount, ball joint there, take the caliper off then, and that'll allow us to kind of drop all this assembly down and pull the shaft out. Well, what I am going to do while we're here is, I think I'll take all this off, get to the bearing, grease the bearing up, because you know it's an extra 20-minute job just to make sure it's all greased up and fine in there. We'll tension that back up. But yeah, I'll remove this and come back and you'll see. Steering arm's off. That means we can get this out. Shock bolt is out. Means there's obviously once that's disconnected, this will drop fully down. Well, once the top ball joint is disconnected, this will drop fully down. Caliper's off. You know, that's hung up on there, just so it's not putting any unnecessary tension on the brake line, and taken sort of the middle section out of the freewheeling hub. So again, we'll clean on, reel oil all those, make sure they're good, make sure we've got a good seal around there. But let me have a look, so you can see I've already taken the other end out. Kind of know where that's gone now, but that's part of the shaft. So the spline end, which is this bit, I can have a look, actually broke off. So God knows why that's happened. But yeah, if we could put a finger in, I mean that is unusual. This is, like I said, this is the second time this has happened. But yeah, I mean they're pretty beefy ends as well. So right, let's get the rest of this off and get the old shaft out. Right, quick tip, so that's the locking ring, so for the tensioner bolt for the sort of bearing cap, I believe it's called, and you'll see there's some piddly little tiny screws which go in to there. There's 3 of them, so as you can see these are focus, come on, they're still okay, but tip is just do not put them in tight, because if you round the edges of them, and it means drilling them out and then obviously drilling them 3 little buggers out, that's a right piece of a job. So when you put these back in, they can't just fall out anyway, because obviously freewheeling hub sits on there anyway, but just put them in, literally lube them up finger tight, because you will have to take them out again. So yeah, right, let's get those set aside there. That's your locking ring, put that over there. Let's wipe some of the shit out. There's where the screwdriver gone. Yeah, as you can see, that's in there. And I mean that, you can see how loose that, well obviously it's loose, it's spinning around, that should be tensioned up a little bit, so it's kind of a good job we checked this, because that obviously means that because there's no tension on that, there's no tension on the bearing, so effectively that'll be working loose a little bit. Or, well, obviously it won't go loose, because obviously the sort of retaining screws are in, but there should be some tension on there to obviously keep the bearing in, so interesting. Now let's get a proper bar in then. So that's the sort of tensioning collar which pushes the bearing in, which obviously makes sure you've got no play in the wheel bearing, but because that wasn't tensioned up properly, obviously it wouldn't have been as extreme as this, obviously I noticed it, but this effectively what happens is when your bearing wears, you lose tension in it, and then that's why you get wheel bearing play. So yeah, interesting, huh? So anyway, we'll clean these up, take the bearing out, grease that up. I mean it's fine anyway, but just stops all the mud and shit getting in it, and then we'll take this housing off, drop the arm, and get the mother back in. Right, and this did not come off as easy as this, so all the bolts out, and then what happens then is you can effectively, so undo this one hand, is I had to knock this down with the persuader, and then what you can do is pull all off, so you can do it, separate, so hub assembly, and what we're going to do is, see rubber seal, stops all your shit getting in, you can see there's loads of shit in there, clean all this up, re-grease all that, get rid of all the crud in there, because there's a rear bearing there, so I'll check that's okay, clean all that up. Discs are okay, but I've got some newer discs, there's a tiny bit of a lip on there, so you can see the pads are not actually connecting all around, so I might, I'll go have a look at those other discs I've got, clean those up, might put the other discs on just while we're doing it, and yeah, let's clean this up, get this up, and then get the shaft out, and then start cleaning and putting all this shit back together. Not gonna lie, that was a pain in the effing arse to get off. trying to get the bottom sort of ball joints out without destroying the rubber, because if you had a sort of prying fork, yeah, piece of piss, because you can just smack it, but they're fine, so I didn't want to start destroying the rubbers on those. Top one was a bit easier because obviously you can knock it down. The rear one, taking the bolt off, I kind of obviously it's like pound on the top to try and push it, but yeah, pain in the arse. And you'd think they'd be easy since they weren't off that long ago, but I think what I'll do this time is make sure we've got a bit more sort of grease and make sure these are all clean ready to next time. And if I've got some spare these, I'll replace them, make sure because they were tight. But yeah, right, shaft's out, you can see that's where it's focused, that's where it's buggered. So I just need to remove the little spring clip in here and then pull the shaft. There she blows. Well, maybe she doesn't. Hang on. Yeah, spring clip's off. That means then, dirty ass. So what I'll do is save this shaft, because even though the CV, well, the spline end snapped in a bit, it'll be fine, and all that is so. Clean re-grease that bugger, and then yeah, put it all shitting back together again. Bit of a name check, Wilkie. You'll know you are. Thanks for making such a good job of cleaning those out. So I'll re-grease them, wiped that off, knocked a bit of crust off that, clean those up. Now some new locking bolts. We'll get that greased up and wrap it back together. I'm sure there's an easy way of taking this shaft out. It's been that long since I did it last time, I just can't remember having to do all this. But again, if I'd have persevered, I would have probably found an easy way. But I'm going to change the discs, they're a little bit pitted, I've got some anyway, so we'll get the old ones out and clean them up, put them on. And I want to check all the seals, and because that's a bit, yeah, seen better days. So greased in a cup, greased all the sort of CV, and I don't know if it's just me, I just do it, but if you can see right at the bottom I put loads of grease kind of forming a bit of a seal. I don't know if it does any job because obviously the grease is going to move, but what I tend to do is, a little tip, is just put a big layer of grease all around that end, just in case any water does get in, it kind of acts as a bit of a barrier. Again, I know it's going to move, but it's just something I do, so yeah, thought I'd share it. So the age-old discussion is, look, to grease or not to grease. It is a tricky one, isn't it? This is just my thought, or what I think. It's because, I mean, this is UK, it's going to be piss cold, muddy all the time, and this is what mainly this GBS using, which is mud. So I kind of think, even though from stock you won't get this much amount of grease around the sort of seals, same as in there, I kind of use grease, and again, agree or disagree, use the grease as more of a seal to stop the water getting in the crap, but then at the same time, by putting grease on, is that just going to hold the shit in there? Which kind of does. So if you look inside of there, you can kind of see there's mud and grease mixed together. I don't know if it's zooming in right. Come on. It's not going to go, is it? Anyway, you all know this. So I've yet to do that one, but any surface which is normally have a gasket on, I kind of use the gasket and the sort of grease to act as a bit more barrier, stop water in. So as you can see, the base plate of, which is the manual locking hub, I grease up, but then the inside of this to stop the shit, because these are used more often, keep them running free, as I kind of use a thick oil, so that's why they are always clean. Such as bearings, I kind of lather them in grease, just to try and keep some of the shit out. But again, I kind of try and do this pretty regular, so it's never too much of an issue. The bearings are fine in this, even though they've not been changed in, well, I think I changed this when I first got these wheel bearings, which were, got this truck I'm in, so 3-4 years ago maybe. But yeah, we'll start putting this back together and yeah, see how it goes. Clean that one first though. Slowly getting there, so that's disc. Kind of buffed up, shined up. Let's go back in there. Quick tip, because these were a bugger to get out. Bit of Oh, is it a bit of copper grease just on where it mounts? Because you see all the white stuff, that's where they literally, I mean, one of them will just a right pain in the ass to get out, but if you just put a bit of copper grease on there, that'll stop them kind of rusting in there and fusing on. So yeah, onwards. Another tip, and I've learned this hard way, is the sort of mounting bolts which go onto the body of the freewheel. Come on, focus. Just not going to do it, is it? Yeah, mounting bolts that go onto the body of the freewheeling hub. Put a little bit of Loctite on them, not the sort of super strength, but the medium grade, because these do have an habit of working loose. I don't know what it is. I've had lots of people say I've had it happen to me, and you just sometimes don't know, and it kind of works itself loose, and it's not just one, it's them all. So check the little spring clips, the little tenon washers there, make sure they're not flat, because if they are, replace them or try and bend them back. But yeah, a little bit of medium grade thread lock always helps, saves you pissing around when you're out and one popping off and damaging the internals. Now the only reason I can think why that bloody shaft end broke off is because before I didn't have the spring clip on, which I've never run because they allow a little bit of movement of the shaft to go in and out, so you kind of got a little bit of extra sort of give in CV cups. Who knows, but I've gonna, because it's the second shaft I've done, especially on this side, there's obviously is a problem, so I've just put that back on for now. That's just a bolt I've used to kind of lever it out, but who knows, beggar knows. Shiny disc, eh? Don't get too close, you'll see all the score marks with the bloody grinding I've done. And redone the sort of safety sort of clips on there because I didn't have one on there, so I've got these to grease up, and then we're almost back together. So I just need to oil all that, tidy all the shit up, look at all that shitty rags, check calipers, and then yeah, repeat on the other side. Fun, eh? Or maybe not. Won't be a DIY without a fuck up with it. So put all that back together, torqued all those up, and then realised what I've bloody done is I set the freewheeling hub, even though it says lock, it's actually on unlock. So when I try to put it on unlock or free, it won't because it's already pulled in. So yeah, bit of a fuck up there. So let's take all that off and start again. Right, let me show you what I've done. So obviously I put them on wrong. So focus in, you can see you've got freewheel and then lock. Lock obviously locks the drive shafts into the hub, and it does that by this sort of spline collar there is on a spring, and what it does is when you unlock it, I should say when you lock it, should I say, it releases off that spring and kind of pushes down along those grooves, and are you going to see there how clear it is? There's like the teeth in there. So there are your guiders, and there are your locking teeth. So let me show you. So when you unlock it, so we can do it with one hand, it kind of springs out, you can see. Runs on sort of chambers or runners, whatever you want to bloody call it, I don't know what they're called. And then those teeth lock onto the shaft. So all you're basically doing is, see, is that's on free, which means it's not engaged onto the shaft. When you lock it, that springs out, locks onto the shaft, gives you drive to your wheels. So yeah, so that's free, that's lock, and I stop right with them. Piece of piss really. These, if you don't look after these and keep these clean and greased, all the shit gets in there, and what happens is when you come to either unlock or lock, if that's jammed in and it's all rusted up and there's, you know, you've not greased it and or the springs broke or it's just full of shit, it just won't move. It'll either stay in or stay out, and you just need to whip these off, especially if you're playing in mud, and grease them up. There you go. As always, took about 5 times longer than I thought it would, but you think you're going to get this done in a couple of hours, don't you? But anyway, so freewheeling hub, that's all done. Disc, a new disc, replace that one because we had them anyway, so we know why not. That's on. Replace the sort of retaining clip, what you want to call them, there. New shafts in, again ran out of those clips so I had to use that, and a tie wrap for now on the top, but we'll sort that. New bolt for the shock, calipers back on. Yeah, I greased the nipples up on both of those, so that's that side done. So tested the brake, they move freely, put a bit of grease in the sort of sliders. Yeah, that's that side done. Ooh, look at that, bit of rust coming, let's sort that out. But yeah, how many tools, how many rags, but that's that side done. So well, I'm not going to film it, but it's exactly the same. That's the old shaft. Again, I'll keep that, clean that up, because obviously both CVs are fine, and that's going to spares bin. And yeah, thanks again for watching. Another highly entertaining video. Give me some shit, leave some comments, and yeah, catch you later.